What's up, guys? I'm at Jivamukti, New York City, and with me today is one of my idols from the Jivamukti yoga method, Yogeshwari. We're at the New York Center, and we're going to have an amazing conversation about the practice of yoga, how it's applied to day-to-day living, and also about this New Year's Eve celebration that's going on. So rather than going out into the world, we're going in around the spiritual teachings and with like minds for an elevated intention. Yogeshwari, thank you for coming on to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Jivamukti Yoga School has a very long history in New York, and what do you think about the New Year's Eve event that's coming up here?
The New Year's Eve event is an amazing event because it gives you a chance to celebrate New Year's Eve in a different way. Normally people go out to bars, get drunk, go see the ball drop, and we are celebrating in an elevated way, in a sacred way. And it's also entertaining. So Jai and I will be teaching a class, and then we will have an hour of silence, and we will have a sound bath by Laraji with a New Year's message after that. And it's a way to celebrate New Year's without alcohol, without drugs, and spend the time in elevated company, so to speak. In the period of silence especially, you may, in a gentle way, go inside and develop some clarity about how you want to approach the next year, so that you can kind of be conscious about how you broach your New Year's resolution, so to speak. And also, the fact that there are many people together doing the same thing, it will boost your energy also.
Yogeshwari, can you tell us a little bit about your history with Jivamukti and what drew you to the method and what makes it unique when compared with all the yogas out there? Why Jivamukti? Why have you practiced it for so long and teaching it for so long?
Well, I've been practicing Jivamukti yoga since 1994, so that's quite a long time. And what drew me to Jivamukti is, in particular, the creative aspect, the artistic aspect. I was a choreographer beforehand, a dancer, so the well-choreographed sequences appealed to me very much, the artistic atmosphere, and also the activist atmosphere. It's to take these ancient teachings, which are very sound in terms of developing literally a sound body and mind, and taking these ancient teachings and being able to translate them so that we can lead a good quality of life, even at a time of great trouble and turbulence and polarization, and stay grounded.
There's the energy of surrender, which is polar to the energy of effort, and that has been very powerful to me because in my whole career before even stepping into the yoga practice and my training with marathons and weightlifting and all these sports, it's been willpower, go, drive, and when I came to the school, I learned to breathe and to relax and to let that opposite energy meet my effort, and I grew a lot from that. So when we surrender in the yoga practice, who or what are we actually surrendering to? What is that larger force? For me, I felt like I've always been bowing down to my potential or the God within myself. So how do you cultivate that energy of surrender? How do you teach it?
Well, I think in our society, we're pushing the effort and willpower part way more than the rest and relaxation and the surrendering part. And so we're not functioning as whole beings. It's like the earth has night and day. Our system, body-mind system, has a sympathetic nervous system and a parasympathetic nervous system. And we're completely overstimulating the sympathetic nervous system. So actually, I know from a study that even high caliber athletes like you were or still are, they perform better when they have a rest afterwards, right? Than athletes who just keep going and don't have a rest, because we need that. So surrender is not exactly the same thing as rest, but it's about learning how to let go. And that happens on different levels, and it depends where the person is at. Like you can surrender in a sense of letting go and working on letting go as a way to get deeper into an asana or to loosen blocks and knots in your body. You don't always have to push in order to stretch further. Sometimes it's a letting go that will make you more flexible, right? It can be surrender to just simply a power that is larger than your ego. Because there comes a point in life, and there are many points like that, where our ego is helpless. It cannot continue to push its will through. So learning how to surrender and bow down has to do with that.
How is yoga fresh for you? What inspires you?
Well, it's yoga is about balance, right? So it's about trying to find a balance where you can refresh yourself and restore, and then again give of yourself. And that takes a different form after so many years. When I first started teaching, I was very excited about teaching, and I wanted to teach as much as I could, which made me a better teacher very quickly. But at the same time, there comes a point where you begin to burn out on teaching so much. So you have to find ways to rejuvenate, whether that is going out into nature, whether that is meditating more, focusing more on your own practice, going to take classes from master teachers and other places so that you can kind of nourish yourself and come up with some new things. Yoga works a lot with repetition. So the repetition, there's something very magical about repetition. Our teacher always says, teacher Sharon Gannon always says that with repetition, magic is forced to arise. And I find that I don't get bored by repeating the same instructions or repeating the same movement sequences. Rather, it allows me to go deeper into it and discover some other level of consciousness behind all of that repetition. And that's, I guess, the exciting part of it all.
For me, it's inspiring to watch the same thing that I'm doing over and over take hold in someone new, and then for them to utilize it. When I see the practice taking hold and people are making these little incremental steps and they're holding their posture differently, they feel more confident, that is bringing something fresh to what is already patterned in my mind.
Yeah, and then also what is typical of Jivamukti, which makes each class different, is that we have spiritual teachings, which can be presented in quite an artistic way. You could write a poem or read a poem, or it makes you think. Every time you prepare your class, your Dharma talk, you have to think about what you're going to say. Maybe you research more. You have to find a playlist that somehow matches your class and your message. So playing around with music of different artists is also very exciting for me. I like to do that.
At the core of the Jivamukti yoga method is the mantra Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Can you explain to us what that mantra means and how mantra has the capacity to send the mind into a groove and help us with our spiritual practice?
Loka in Sanskrit means all the worlds. So it means this planet, it means your community, it means your family, it also means the universe, right? It means realms of existence that may be seen or unseen. And all of these realms are populated by energies, beings, spirits, souls, right? So we are saying that all beings in all these realms may be sukhino, which means happy. Bhavantu means something like living in a divine atmosphere. The bhav is an elevated atmosphere, feeling good, feeling euphoric, feeling alive, and antu is the imperative form, so it's like, may it be so. So if you recite the mantra with full conviction, and you're not allowing your thoughts to drift elsewhere, you're actually putting the thoughts into place that will eventually manifest. So that's the power of mantra, right? The message will, thoughts are things, the message will eventually come to be. If we say that with sincerity, and if millions of people do that, then we can actually change the world. Because by chanting mantra works with repetition. So you are creating a vibration through the Sanskrit language, which is a vibrational language that is of an elevated nature, plus an elevated message, and you're saying it to yourself over and over again, your mind will begin to change. Even the neuronal connections will begin to change, so that you're starting to think more positively. You're starting to think that we're not just doomed by some, political system or so, but we actually have a role to play in all of this, and we have to uphold a high standard for how we want to operate in this world.
What are some ways that you start your morning to increase your focus and to try to harness that focus throughout the day?
I am very selective when it comes to using my tech tools. I will never just run to the computer and look at my emails or see who has SMS'd me or whatever. I keep all of that shut off until I have done my practice. Even if in days where I'm very busy and I cannot do a very long practice, I will at least, have some time in the morning, which includes my bathing, my taking, a cup of tea or whatever. It includes that. I need that silence in the morning, and then meditate, and then I'll do my asana practice. But throughout all that time, I do not look at my phone or my emails. And it's actually, I find that what's keeping me sane, and it's giving me the kind of tool and energy to be able to teach that to people who are constantly under attack from all of these messages and smartphone work stuff that follows them all through the night, actually.
Yeah. At the New Year's event, we're going to have 1 hour of mauna, which is silence. So people will walk around or sit down and journal, but they're more reflective. After the sound bath, after the practice that we teach, they're going to have a moment to just be in silence in a group setting. Can you explain the power of mauna and its role in focusing the mind and creating tranquility?
Yeah, mauna is a yogic practice, just as important as asana practice, and it means silence. The silence is a very therapeutic practice, because when you're silent, first of all, you begin to realize how much energy you waste with idle talk, and that oftentimes with that idle talk, we're also kind of using it as a defense so that people don't see into our hearts or into our souls. So when we stop the idle talking and we're just quiet, it gives us a chance to go into a more sensitive dimension of ourselves. Plus, it really gives the mind a rest. The mind is chattering on and on and on and on. And you can journal, yes, that's perfectly okay during the silence. That will at least get rid of some of the things that you're processing. But you could also just meditate, right? You can meditate for an hour and sit there and say nothing and write nothing.
Okay, so you can join us for these practices. We're going to have asana, pranayama, meditation, sound bath, mauna, some silence, and then we're going to have a talk to wrap it all up, to set our intention for 2019. We'll be at 841 Broadway, Jivamukti Yoga School, New York City. Yogeshwari, thank you so much for coming onto the program. Can you tell people exactly what you're up to in the world as far as your retreats, your foundation, and where they can get in touch with you and find you if they're interested in contributing to some of your work?
I am a traveling teacher, so I'm constantly changing location, really. So next is for me is I'm teaching the teacher training, Jivamukti teacher training in Germany, and then I'll be in Sydney before coming here for New Year's Eve. You can find more information on www.yogeshwari.org. You can find me on Facebook. I also have a foundation named Azahar Foundation, which aims to bring these teachings of yoga to areas where there's a suffering from post-war trauma, and you can find out about that through www.azaharfoundation.org, or if you wish to make a contribution before the holidays, you can go on GoFundMe /Azahar Yogathon. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you if you're in town at Jivamukti Yoga School, New York City. And stay tuned for more from both of us.
And from Foxy.
And from Foxy, Be Love Itself.